He didn't knock. He never knocked. The door hit the frame at 7:43 a.m., and Marcus Chen walked in mid-sentence on his phone, index finger raised at me, the universal gesture for wait, while he finished telling someone on the other end of the line that the numbers looked fine to him. He hadn't looked at the numbers. He ended the call, looked at me for the first time. You, my office. He thought I was a temp auditor covering a maternity leave. He had no idea I was the person who wrote the federal compliance framework his entire division operated under. The board had brought me in, not him. He wasn't told. That was not an oversight. Marcus ran procurement for 14 years. VP title? Perfect annual reviews. The kind of man who scheduled 30-minute meetings and spent the first 20 talking about his own decisions in a previous meeting. He had a habit. Every time he was about to dismiss something, a concern, a report, a person, he'd pick up whatever object was closest to him and turn it over in his hand. A pen, a stapler, a phone. Like whatever you just said, needed to be physically outweighed. That first morning, it was a stress ball shaped like a $sign. He got it at a conference. He turned it over 3 times while I was still introducing myself. I stopped introducing myself. 3 months earlier, the CFO had flagged irregular movement in Q3 procurement. Not fraud, not yet. Numbers that bent in directions. Numbers don't naturally bend. They needed someone who could read the architecture of a cover-up before it finished being built. They called me. I had 48 hours before Marcus knew I was in the building. His office had glass walls. He never closed the blinds. He sat. I didn't wait to be told. "You've been pulling vendor reports above your clearance tier," he said. "I have the access I was issued," I said. "By whom?" I didn't answer. He picked up the $sign stress ball. Every audit function in this building runs through me. If someone gave you Tier 3 access without my sign-off, that's a protocol breach. He squeezed it once. "I want your credentials suspended by noon." "That's your call to make," I said. "It is," he said. And he said it slowly, the way people say things they want you to remember. He picked up his desk phone. He didn't know what he was about to do. But I did. He told the IT manager, and I could hear it from where I was sitting, that I was just the temp coverage, and that my access was probably a paperwork error. He used that phrase twice. Paperwork error. He didn't know that the IT manager had received written authorization from the CFO's office 47 minutes before that call. He suspended my access anyway. By 9:15 a.m., every internal report was locked. Every vendor file inaccessible. Every log I'd been building for 11 weeks gone from my screen. What he didn't know, I hadn't been working from his network in 6 days. The CFO had authorized a parallel read-only mirror. External compliance server. Off Marcus's network. Outside his jurisdiction, his IT team couldn't see it. His access logs didn't touch it. When he locked me out, he didn't shut me down. He just removed himself from the record of everything I was about to find. I spent that afternoon at a coffee shop 3 blocks from the building. The mirror was intact. Everything I'd pulled was intact. 47 vendor transactions. Q1 through Q3. 19 of them routed through a holding company, Feldmark Consulting, incorporated 8 months before Marcus joined the board on that same holding company. I sat with that for exactly as long as it took to finish a cup of coffee. Then I found something I wasn't looking for. Feldmark had a second director. Not Marcus, someone else. Sandra Voss. Senior Director of Internal Controls, the person whose maternity leave I was supposedly covering. I pulled Sandra's HR file. Her leave had been requested and approved by Marcus. Filed the same week the first Veltmark transaction cleared. Sandra hadn't stepped back voluntarily. She'd been moved. That's when the variance stopped looking like noise. But there was a problem. I needed to understand the timeline before I could touch the filing. I pulled 6 months of Sandra's internal correspondence. Her read access had been restricted, quietly, incrementally, over 14 weeks. By the time she left, she couldn't see the vendor files she was responsible for auditing. She'd flagged it, twice. Both flags were closed by Marcus's office, marked resolved. They were not resolved. There was a third flag, never submitted, just drafted, sitting in her outbox, time-stamped the afternoon before her leave began. I opened it. She had found Veltmark. She'd gotten further than me in half the time. And then she had stopped. I don't know what happened in that specific window. I didn't need to. The pattern was the answer. What he didn't realize was that Sandra's draft, unsubmitted, sitting in an outbox he assumed was empty, was now part of a federal record. He forgot one thing. Drafts don't disappear when you move someone out of the building. I built the timeline in 2 hours. 47 transactions. Veltmark, the board overlap, Sandra's removal, the 2 closed flags, the draft. I flagged 12 transactions for federal review. I drafted the preliminary finding. Plain language, the kind regulators read at 7 in the morning without putting down. Then I added a second section, obstruction indicators, the systematic restriction of Sandra's access, the closure of her flags, the timing of her administrative leave relative to the first Veltmark clearance. 7 data points, each one sourced, each one time-stamped. I didn't editorialize, I didn't need to. 7 data points arranged in chronological order are not an argument, they're a mechanism. I submitted to the Federal Compliance Liaison at 11:47 p.m. That was the protocol. Section 9, paragraph 2. Marcus had approved that version of the protocol himself, 14 months earlier. The next morning, I was back in the building at 8 a.m. Marcus saw me from across the floor. He walked over fast. That was new. He always moved slowly before, the kind of slow that says, I decide when things happen. I told IT to pull your badge. They reinstated it, I said, at 7:52. On whose authority? The CFO's office. He went still. Just for a second, the way a system lags before it crashes. What did you tell them? Nothing they didn't ask for, I said. That was true. They'd asked for everything. I'd given them everything. He spent the next 3 hours making calls. I know, because I could see his office from my desk. Glass walls, no blinds. At one point, he picked up the $ stress ball and held it the entire time he was on the phone, turning it over and over and over. He didn't put it down until the elevator opened. At 11:40, 2 men I didn't recognize stepped off the main elevator. Charcoal suits, no visible badges. They went directly to the CFO's conference room. They didn't stop at reception. Nobody asked them to sign in. Marcus watched them cross the floor. His call ended mid-sentence. He didn't make another one. Downstairs in accounts payable, a junior analyst named Priya had spent the morning reconciling 3/4 of vendor invoices. Routine work, assigned that week, no context given. At 11:52, she flagged an anomaly to her manager. Her manager told her to hold it. Priya held it. She didn't know she was the third person to find the same number. She didn't know the other 2 were Sandra and me. At 1:15 p.m., the CFO's assistant crossed the floor. She handed Marcus an envelope. She didn't make eye contact. She walked back without a word. He stood at his desk for 23 seconds. I counted. Then, he sat down slowly and opened it. Administrative leave, effective immediately, pending regulatory review. The audit he had tried to shut down 31 hours earlier. He looked up, across the floor, at me. I was typing. He kept looking. I didn't look back. At 1:31 p.m., building security arrived at his office door. Section 9, paragraph 4. His own protocol. He'd approved that version himself. By 2 p.m., the glass office was empty. The $ stress ball was still on the desk. Nobody touched it for 4 days. The federal review ran 4 months. Veldmark Consulting was dissolved. 2 vendor contracts voided. 12 transactions referred for further investigation. Marcus accepted a negotiated settlement, 5-year bar from executive finance roles, no admission of wrongdoing. That's how those things go. He kept the stress ball. I assume Sandra Voss received a formal finding of wrongful administrative removal, not a quiet settlement, a finding on the record with her name on it. She was reinstated 6 weeks after I filed. Full back pay for every week she'd been out. Restored clearance at the same level Marcus had spent 14 weeks quietly dismantling. Her 2 closed flags were reopened, reviewed, and entered into the federal record as valid and unresolved at the time of closure. The draft in her outbox, the one she never sent, the one she wrote the afternoon before he moved her out, was formally acknowledged as prior discovery. She'd found it first. The record now says so. She never met me in person. I don't know if she knows my name, but I know she walked back into that building with everything he'd taken from her, plus documentation that it had been taken, plus the specific language that makes it very difficult for anyone to do it again. That's not nothing. That's most of it. I left the day I submitted the preliminary report. Contract ended at 5 p.m. I handed in my badge, signed the exit form, took the elevator down. He had moved Sandra out of the way, so nobody would find it. Then he looked at me and saw temp coverage, a paperwork error, someone he could file away the same way. He forgot one thing. 2 people had already found it, and one of them had written the rules he was breaking. The filing stands. Sandra's name is in it. His name is in it. Some things you can't close and mark resolved.